Hello everyone, I'm Dan and I'm back from RDC with a headset and a cold. I liked the headset better. Anyway, as announced at the main keynote, we're moving into a bright, sunny new era of clear-cut common currency costs for creators, 100% revenue share, USD instead of Robux, and one remaining problem. You see, in the current plugin marketplace, plugin creators often feel trapped by an environment that underpays and undervalues the work of creators by default. Part of the problem was how Roblox's economy siphoned away valuable revenue, but another part of the problem was how we priced our own work. Let me show you with numbers. At RDC 2023, David Baszucki shared that the number 1,000 creator on the platform earned over $60,000 over the whole year. The analysis site authpath.gg seemed to agree with Roblox's numbers. In fact, most popular experiences on platform actually earn many times above this 60,000 number. I would show you what the website looks like, but in the time between doing the research and recording the footage, they rescinded all public access, so enjoy this artist impression instead. Let's roll with Roblox's number then. Roblox says a decently successful experience earns $60,000 a year. At current DevEx rates, we can therefore calculate that they generate around 17 million Robux per year for their creators. Pessimistically, let's assume a massive 90% of that earned Robux is invested back somehow, whether to pay employees and contractors, paying for server hosting, office space, intern-provided lattes, whatever it may be. This leaves around 1.7 million Robux per year as disposable income. Now, let's compare these earnings to some typical plugin pricing. Let's assume, quite optimistically, that you sell a plugin for 1,000 Robux. This means that a decently successful creator would be able to buy your plugin 1,714 times every single year from only the disposable income? If this best case example does not illustrate how insanely cheap plugins are, I would be at a complete loss. It's clear then that plugins aren't even close to a reasonable price, so how much should they cost? Instead of debating how much of a game's value should plugin authors capture, I'll focus on the relatively uncontroversial, not dying part of the conversation. Decently successful plugin developers should, at minimum, be earning enough to not go into poverty. I personally think that scraping the poverty line should not be an impressive feat, especially if you're successful, but we'll go with it anyway and we'll see what happens. According to the United States Census, sources linked below, the poverty threshold for a single person under the age of 65 with no under 18 children, most Roblox developers, is $15,225 per year. If you earn less than $15,000 a year in the United States, you are in poverty, at least according to the very fair and reasonable United States government. If you are decently successful as a paid plugin developer, I conjecture that you should probably not be starving or missing rent, so I'll use $15,000 a year as a target for revenues. To get the price for our plugins, we need to divide our 15,000 revenue target by the number of sales that we expect. Unfortunately, with plugin sales numbers, I can no longer directly cite any public sources. Instead, I'm just going to have to conjecture a sales figure for an entire year, based on my own experiences as a plugin developer. Feel free to rerun these calculations if you think I'm wrong, but I don't think it'll change much about the result. I think it's reasonable for an average Joe paid plugin to earn about 1,000 sales a year. Of course, higher end ones will earn much more, but there's no public data for this, and it's not relevant to most creators anyway. Based on the census information, if you want to just scrape the poverty line at this normal volume of sales, you need to sell each plugin for around $15. To be clear, I am not saying that you should aim for a $15 price point, or that $15 is some kind of realistic option. I am saying that you should be aiming substantially above $15, because otherwise you are statistically pricing yourself poor. For comparison with today's situation, let's translate this data back into Robux. At the current DevEx rate, accounting for the 30% marketplace fee, the poverty line is set at 6,122 Robux per plugin. If your plugin is priced less than this number, right now, it is unbelievably underpriced. May we now please observe a moment of silence for these plugins, which are cheaper than 6,122 Robux. Okay, jokes and hyperbole aside, you've probably heard this before. You've probably heard of many smart people telling you that there is no money in plugins. These numbers are fundamentally why. The whole bureaucracy of Roblox's system didn't help, of course, but the real villain has always been the price point. So I hope you would agree, now that Roblox are cleaning up their end of the situation, we are duty-bound to clean up ours. Since we're moving to a whole new marketplace structure, why not take the time to ensure that everyone everywhere can get paid properly? I want to foster an environment of more intelligent and substantiated conversations around price. To some extent, I think this has already begun to happen. I mean, look at plugin prices today. They're way higher than the 5 Robux that we used to see. When someone casually calls a creator greedy for a plugin that costs pennies, there's immediate community pushback. Many of my plugin creator friends receive fewer death threats than they used to, which is real progress. But I also acknowledge that this sort of maths generally does not get done. We always look to our peers for opinions about what the right price is, or whether we're being unreasonable by asking for a price drop. A huge part of the marketplace is imperfect and fundamentally human, because we're not rational robots. We aren't backed by libraries of information that we can recall on a dime, and we're not supercomputers that derive truths from axioms in the blink of an eye. We're people. So I just want to put a simple number out there, a reference point that you can take away with you. Whenever you think of plugins, I want you to think of this number. 49. What's 49, you may ask? Well, if you're a long-time follower, you might remember my video on how I priced Volumica, my volumetric lighting package. Since I was selling Volumica on a different website, I had to come up with a proper USD price for it. After a lot of research and talking around, I eventually settled on $49 US, primarily because it lined up with similar product pricing over in the Unity asset store, and also because I got positive feedback when I talked about it with others. On release, nobody batted an eyelid at the price. Was it higher than usual? Sure, but nobody ever really balked, it just worked. Volumica is now my best performing product of all time. This was absolutely, without question, the right price for this sort of product. So, that's why I want you to remember the number 49. I propose $49 US as the reference price for professional, high-quality plugins. If you're making a small toy, then go lower. If you're making a specialist tool, then go higher. But I think that $49 US is that sweet spot for reasonably featured, well-rounded plugins. The revenue is comfortably above the poverty threshold, the data from Volumica backs it up, it aligns with other real-world asset stores, and it's well within reach of all successful creators, as disclosed by Roblox themselves, and as verified by a third-party website. While I was over in the States, I even talked to other real developers and creators directly about this. They have all unanimously agreed that this is the right way to price things, no matter what contrarian points I try and throw at them. So, to quite literally put my money where my mouth is, I intend to adopt $49 US as the standard price for all of my plugins going forward. I am completely dependent on my plugin income right now, so if anyone balks at that price, it will directly hurt me. That is how much I genuinely believe this is right and necessary. You'll see me adopt this new pricing as I roll out new stuff. For the time being, I don't intend to do anything with my existing legacy products, as long as they're on the old economic model, and as long as they're not superseded in some other way, like if I released a new version of them. Oh, and by the way, you did hear that right in the last paragraph. New stuff! It's coming. But in short, that concludes everything. I hope that by doing some actual calculations and citing some real sources, I can finally show you what it's actually like being a plugin developer. I never really got into this for money because I don't really care about being a millionaire. I mean, I could get a lot of goods and services for that money, but what would I use it for? Like, actually. Please do leave your comments, love letters, insults, and or cute dog pictures in the comments below. I think about them a lot. Mostly the cute dog pictures, they're good doggos. Anyway, I've been Dan, and I will see you guys in the new marketplace. Have fun, and remember, 49.